Minnesota, let's do it.
Okay.
Minnesota fans, I want you to open up your calendar app. I want you to block off the evening of Tuesday, December the 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when we're doing this year's Minnesota Fan Therapy Zoom call. We did it last year. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A night of fellowship, a night of therapy. If you want the invite, solidverbal@gmail.com. I will make sure you get an invite. Last year, I had the thing where people were like sending me DMs and other like social media stuff. Don't do that, please. I really don't go on social media more than I have to. Solidverbal@gmail.com. If you want the Zoom invite, I'll make sure you're part of it.
Right.
Okay. Maybe this year we'll pull in NC State people too, but Minnesota must continue. Where are we at with Minnesota? Where are we at with this team? They were 8-5 a season ago with a bowl win.
Yeah.
The season before it, they were 8-5 with a bowl win. I think looking at the schedule, there's a chance they finish with the exact same record. The win total is 6.5, although in our grand total game, we still have it listed at 5.5 from a little earlier this year. Frankly, I could see the case for both sides of it. We are going into year 10, if you can believe it, of PJ Fleck at Minnesota, Dan.
Yeah. Wild.
How do we feel here?
Similar to previous years with Minnesota. I have 7-5 written down here.
So do I.
Here's the issue with me.
So do I.
Okay, so Minnesota, it's obvious like they need to figure out pop on offense and balance on offense and maybe some beef up front, dubious beef on defense, and lost some star power from this defense. The issue with Minnesota to me is if their intention is essentially winning more than 7 games, getting to like that annual 8-9-ish win and looking more complete and more dangerous more often. Last season's Minnesota team is not this season's team, but as the jumping off point, last season's team was 3 points better than Rutgers, a single touchdown better than Purdue at home, 2-10 Purdue, 3 points better than a Michigan State team that fired its coach after 2 years. That was kind of a mess in a lot of different areas and benched their quarterback. 10 points better than Wisconsin, which is good. 3 points better than New Mexico, feisty New Mexico. Minnesota doesn't get to 7 wins in an emphatic way. They're not beating Rutgers by a couple touchdowns, right? That's the issue to me, is like their starting point is not that impressive. Now, I know a lot of people look at this Minnesota team as having upside because of Drake Lindsey, and physically he's, makes plays and had a couple big games near the end of the year and, is accurate and limits turnovers. Kind of just feels like we're talking about Drew Aller. Right? Physically impressive. Nice arm. Throws a bunch of 4-yard passes. He was bottom tier Big Ten quarterback as a freshman, and you're allowed to be a bottom tier quarterback as a freshman. You're a freshman. But I'm not crazy about like quarterback over quarterback over quarterback kind of looking the same in this Minnesota offense. I know you were for Brosmer, whatever it was.
No, man. Yeah. Look, they got to get better on offense. They got to get
score
better
points.
on offense. Yeah, 94th in SP Plus last year. I've got some other numbers here that are just blow your mind. 129th in rushing offense, 115th in yards per play, virtually no explosive plays. Bill Connolly said that they haven't had a top 50 defense in his metrics since 2020, or offense, since 2020.
Yeah, which is a weird year. Yeah.
Weird year. This year, the source of optimism, if you have it, is not just Drake Lindsey, but also Darius Taylor, Javon Tracy, Jalen Smith, 3 offensive linemen. They also bring over some decent players in the portal. That all amounts to 71% returning production on the offensive side of the ball. Barring injury, there's almost no excuse for them not to get better because there are good players here. There really are good players here. They just need to be a little bit less dependent on Darius Taylor. They definitely need to be less risk-averse. They're very risk-averse in this offense. And I think they need to be a little bit more comfortable letting Drake Lindsey air it out.
Agree.
They got to let him air it out a little bit more. Last year, it was something like 9.7 yards per completion, which was lower on the scale. if you listen to, guys like Nate Tice, one of our friends, Nate Tice, he's all in on Drake Lindsey being something of an NFL prospect.
Cool.
Going into the 2027 draft class. He's not the type of guy who's going to outrun you, but he's pretty good with mobility within the pocket. He's got all the tools. We're just going to need to see some chunk plays out of him this year. And whether that's a Drake Lindsey thing that can be learned, or whether that's a Greg Harbaugh Jr. offense thing that needs to be called, I have not found a definitive answer on that. And I suspect the Minnesota people who are interested in my Zoom call will be the first that'll write into solidverbal@gmail.com and let us know what their thoughts are on this. I think this year they actually have good options to get some of those chunk plays out wide, whether it's Jalen Smith, who I mentioned a moment ago, Noah Jennings, who had a really good spring game, sort of blew the lid off the spring game, the transfer from Cincinnati, or others. Like they have options that I think can help stretch the field. It's a question to me of, will they even try?
Right. Yeah.
The threat of chunk plays would be a huge deal for someone like a Darius Taylor, who is back, hopefully healthy, was limited about half the season last year because of a hamstring. Per Athlon, I sent this to you earlier, has been working with a chef and taking Pilates classes this offseason to try and get into shape and be the best version of himself. He's now being coached by Mo Ibrahim.
Yeah.
If you really want to feel old, we need to see some pop into this offense. We need to see it.
And it's not like they were conservative to serve an excellent defense. Defense wasn't excellent. Defense was fine. It's a top, maybe a little above average. But yeah, I'm curious about the intention, because the way that they played last year, again, was very close to the Michigan State, Rutgers, Northwestern level. And Northwestern's a bowl team. That's fine. But they were not figuring out ways to separate themselves and put themselves in a position to avoid calamity late in a game if something were to go wrong.
No.
So I think you're right. It's about the intention. Look, Anthony Smith is one of the best edge rushers in the nation.
Yep.
But there are enough questions that when I look at this schedule, that feels trappy and travel heavy. They're playing in both State College and Seattle this year.
Yep.
They're finishing in what could be very bad weather in Madison for the Axe game. Yep. They have Indiana relatively late, and that's after the Iowa game. They have Michigan after Washington. It's not an easy schedule, and they're not giving themselves a lot of options on how to win games. So even if Drake Lindsey is clearly improved, and Ty Hildenbrandt of the Solid Verbal and of Eastern PA likes their receiving options.
I do. Actually, I really do.
Okay.
Did I mention Zion Steptoe from Tulsa?
You did not.
Another guy.
But they could lose to Mississippi State in week 2.
I got 9,000 words written here on Minnesota.
Okay. Buddy, they were it was a 7-3 game late in the first half against Buffalo last year.
I know. I think this team's going to be fine on defense.
Okay.
It hurts to lose. Coy Parrish is now playing for Oregon. They lose, a bunch up the middle, a linebacker, a corner. But they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I like Anthony Smith. You mentioned him before. Defensively, I think they're going to be okay. The question is on offense, can they be less risk averse? And yeah, they've got 5 games here in conference against teams that are really highly ranked per the SP Plus. Teams that you listed off. So it's going to be a bit of an uphill climb. You could talk me into anything between 6-6 and 9-3. 9-3 if I am drunk on optimism. I think it's 7-5.
Man. Yeah.
If you're seeing a little bit of a jump on offense, a big enough jump on offense, you could talk me into 8-4. But I'm on 7-5 here.
7-5 for me. We agree. Thanks for watching, and thank you for at least considering subscribing to the channel. It means a ton.